Well, folks, another Sacagawea Mule coin was recently graded by PCGS. We're going to talk a little bit about this, unique and very expensive coin, worth well in excess of $100,000. We're going to talk a little bit about why this even shows up on the radar. Is it findable in just general searching? And what the heck do you do if you find one? Stay tuned. All right, well, the news is out there. Coin World had reported on it. PCGS has furnished actual photos of the coin that you see here. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. This is a newly fresh graded 2000D Denver Sacagawea dollar muled with the reverse dice of a South Carolina statehood quarter. Now this is kind of a big deal for a number of reasons. Okay, number one, it's yet another piece, another mule to have somehow escaped the mint. Don't know how. We're going to talk a little bit about that, kind of speculate on how it could have gotten out of the mint. But second of all, this is the very first Sacagawea mule among a few that have been found somewhere under a rock, I guess, to actually feature a statehood quarter design on one side. Because up to this point, the few examples that did exist or do exist out there have the obverse or reverse die of a sac dollar paired and muled with an obverse die to a statehood quarter. All right, whichever one that may be. So this is the very first identifiable statehood quarter design on one of these extremely unique, very rare mule coins. This one particular example is a unique oddity at this point. Now, let's talk a little bit about what PCGS has assigned grade-wise for this coin. All right, they had graded this thing as Mid-State 64, all right? And it's pretty gosh darn neat, if you tell me. Let me go ahead and get the article back from Coin World. We're going to talk a little bit about this coin right here, which at this point, there's really not a whole lot else to talk about. The coin and previous coins like it have sold for over $100,000, which is a lot of freaking money considering what it is. And the fact that more haven't been discovered leads to two possible conclusions. Number one, there wasn't a whole lot that did escape the U.S. Mint. And number two, they are quite scarce. Let's say, for argument's sake, because this coin was produced during a time where we saw a pretty substantial composition change from the outgoing copper nickel clad dollar planchets. Of course, the Susan B. Anthony will live in infamy as one of the most, mistaken coins of all time, considering that they were damn near close to the size of a standard U.S. Quarter dollar. But that particular composition went bye-bye. And now, enter in the new composition in the year 2000, the Millennium Dollar is what some folks have called it, is referred to as a manganese brass alloy. Okay, and the breakdown is as follows. It's 77% copper, 12% zinc, 7% manganese, and 4% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. Interesting. But this would be the new composition that will help differentiate the dollar coin. And at the time, the government, the U.S. Mint, they had high hopes that this particular coin would circulate much to the same level that a standard paper dollar bill would. I knew it wouldn't work because, carrying 10 of these coins in your pocket feels a whole heck of a lot different than carrying 10 $1 bills in your wallet. Now, with this particular new composition and the changeover, there comes a lot of experimentation. All right. So does that necessarily make this an experimental strike? It could be. But they were testing out the hardness slash softness of this particular composition, I'm sure, by testing out a few different die pairings. All right. So the true definition of a mule is where you take both an obverse and reverse dice, which have nothing to do with each other in terms of the overall design of what they were intended to strike, and you paired them together to formulate a strike, one coin, you know. The overall size of the coin, this mule, is the same as a normal Sacagawea dollar, okay? Which, at this point, leads me to conclude that it's highly possible that this could come up in a BU roll direct from the Fed Reserve Bank with an actual mule in there. Now, the possibilities, that's kind of like the actual height of this possibility is that, wow, you could find this thing in a roll. But realistically, is that how it all happened? Is that how a few of these coins escaped? Probably not. I'm just going to lay that out on the line. There's probably some other way other than through a mid-sewn bag, which they were still distributing, by the way, from the Fed Reserve Bank when they were packaged there, and also rolls, coin rolls. We've always heard of some pretty highly sketchy errors and experimentals that have escaped the mint, some of which are quite illegal to own. The 1970, was it 74 or 75 aluminum cent, was one particular coin that was illegal to own. And as a result, there have been a few examples that were confiscated during, the last 50 years or whatever. But these mules aren't necessarily illegal to own. Now, this is probably a case of, we're going to produce these to test out the strikes and the hardness. We're going to use a couple different weird sized, denomination dies, pair them together and see how the overall composition performs after many strikes, and then they'll test out a number of them to see how the dies would fare after so many strikes. So no doubt about it, there were a number of these that were produced, all right? And I'm willing to bet probably 99% of them were indeed destroyed back when they were testing out the metals. But to kind of put it into perspective, again, this is nothing new. These are coins that we have seen graded and on the open market throughout time. There have been a few other examples of the Sacagawea mule pairing with the obverse of the statehood quarter die. We've seen a number of those. We've even seen the same coin sold a number of times throughout the last 20 years. There's also been a Sacagawea mule, or where there is a Sacagawea dollar obverse paired with a presidential dollar reverse. Now, this is a coin that was produced well far in advance, past 2007, when the first date of the presidential dollar coin, starting with George Washington, was first released. Again, on that same manganese planchet. Again, a big, huge differentiator compared to the outgoing copper nickel clad plans that we had seen prior to the year 2000. There have also been two examples of Washington quarter dollar mules from two reverse dies. I've never personally seen those. Coin World is stating that presumably these were struck at the San Francisco Mint around 1965 to 66. And of course, there's also the 1993D piece struck on the cent planchet with a cent, Lincoln cent obverse die and a reverse of a Roosevelt 9. Okay, we've actually seen one of those in the marketplace. There was actually one that did sell on Heritage Auctions during the Long Beach sale, I believe, which was held at February 24th, 25th. That one, however, was a 2001D. Again, an incredibly rare and very valuable coin. Again, I wouldn't say it's out of the question that these can be found in mint-sewn bags and rolls, because 2001, they were still distributing these mint-sewn bags. And if you guys know the history about these mint-sewn bags, that's a lot. That is the one thing that you could search where you could find some of the craziest errors. Off-center strikes, die caps, the actual physical die caps, not so much destruct through cap dies, and things like that. So finding a mule like this 2001D that sold for $78,000 is probably not the realm. All right, and that's probably why you don't see too many 1999, 2000, and 2001 era of mint-sewed bags on the marketplace. Whereas 15 years ago, those were all over the place for a relatively bargain price because, especially the Denver minted ones, people weren't really looking for anything, incredible, up until some of these mules have come into the limelight. All right, so that one right there sold for $78,000, and there have been a few other mules. There was a 1995 piece struck on a dime planchet by a Lincoln Cent obverse die and a Roosevelt dime reverse die. So it's actually a copper nickel clad, sounds like, planchet made and intended for a die, being the host planchet for that particular mule. So mules have always been kind of like the high watermark for errors in general, because I think they were released by error as opposed to them being struck as an error coin, because I think they were intentionally struck. I don't think that they corralled up every single conceivable example, and some of them did leak out of the mint. So this particular coin right here, I think and I firmly believe that this is going to be the most expensive example because of the unique die pairing where we actually have a statehood quarter identifiable reverse on it. It's going to be the first one. Not even sure if this sucker is going to head out to the marketplace. It'll be interesting to see where this one would fall. It's going to be north of $100,000. We can kind of guarantee that, even in a much more quiet coin market, this coin will certainly make a lot of waves. Now, does this necessarily mean that you have to go out and source out as many rolls and bags of 2,000 SAC dollars that you can? I probably wouldn't go that far, considering that 2000D Denver minted rolls are commanding a heck of a premium out there for mint state rolls. However, 2000P rolls have a little bit more going for them. They got the Wounded Eagle. They have a couple other really cool die clashing on there. So those are a little bit more reasonable to search through. But the Denver rolls, where you're paying 2 to 3 times face value for each of those rolls, is really a gamble. All right, and there's no guarantee, considering that this is probably a coin that exists maybe 3 or 4 times out of the entire run of the 2000 minted Sacagawea dollars. Could there be another one? Possibly. Should you use up all of your available energy and resources to find out? Well, unless you have money coming out of your ears and you have just an endless pool of fundage to work off of, then that's completely up to you. Personally, I would video document it if I had the opportunity and I had the means, because you are going to be paying a premium. It's not like you're getting these at face value. That would certainly be a fun experiment. But finding these things is easier said than done, because a lot of the coins have been sitting in bank vaults for the longest time. And then through the past 10 years, they've slowly disappeared. They get sent back, they get destroyed, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, definitely something that is more or less at this point, because the coins are out there and you could see them. And, if you had one in your hand, you could even touch it. I would still say that this is more of a fable than it is actual fiction, or nonfiction, or whatever real is. You get the big picture. But that's why I wanted to talk about this one. By the way, how are you guys liking the coin collection thing? All right, that I did my first part 1 video on. It looks like a lot of fun. And guess what? probably the first video that I dropped yesterday talking about this inheritance that I am appraising is probably the least thrilling. You guys will have to stay tuned and check out part 2 and 3 where we reveal all the other items, and then the other subsequent parts will be kind of like dissecting and kind of evaluating how much these coins are, and then putting them in their groups, because we have to split them up in 4 lots for 4 different folks of the family that this inheritance goes to. So it'll be a lot of fun to go through this. It's one of my bigger collections I've come across. Again, thank you to the owner for allowing me the privilege of appraising this collection, and it's a lot of fun. Again, kind of a time capsule of 15, 20 years ago when people were mail order shopping for these things, and albeit they're not doing terribly bad on them. They were expensive back in 2005, and so, but today, huge bargain on some of them. So that's going to go ahead and do it. Would love to hear your thoughts on this Sacagawea Mule. Bleh. That's what I think about it, because it's like, again, it's a fable. It's a white whale, a unicorn, whatever you want to say. And it's like, until I have one in my hot hands, I'm a reserve my right to say that these are not searchable in change or in rolls. But we'll see about that. Maybe someone will prove me wrong, and in that case, I will go to them and shake their hand, buddy, because they are deserved of not only my respect, but also the huge price tag that comes with finding such a big trophy piece. There's going to be a lot of people interested in it. So that's it, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next coin video. Yeah. See ya.